Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. How are y'all doing? How are y'all doing on this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day? Listen, we are about to get into the thing on this Money Wednesday. We are going to be talking about what exactly your first $2,000 in your business could look like. Specifically, we're going to be getting into why most women overcomplicate their first income goal. We're going to be talking about the math behind a simple $2,000 coaching offer. We're going to be talking about why you don't need a huge social media following to start. We're going to be talking about the difference between high income and income security. Listen, that one is really, really, really important. And if you are under the sound of my voice right now, you might want to make some time to hear the difference or to hear that part of this conversation, because there is a difference between high income and income security. And I don't want to give you a spoiler, but here's the thing. Just because you are making a six-figure salary, it doesn't mean you have income security. We're also going to be talking about how your existing skills can become your second stream of income. We're going to be talking about why women delay monetizing their skills. We're going to be talking about the mindset shift from employee to value creator. And then we're also going to be getting into what realistic momentum looks like in your first 90 days. So I have a lot of content for you on this Money Making Wednesday. So let's go ahead and get into it. Listen, let's do a quick tech check before we get into the conversation. So if you can see and hear me, okay, just drop a yes in the comments and let me know where you're watching from. Listen, happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Wednesdays over here on Nick at Noon. We are all about money. We talk about income. We talk about ownership. We talk about strategy. We talk about building financial security in a way that doesn't rely entirely on one paycheck. And today's conversation is one that I believe a lot of women need to hear, because talking about what your first $2,000 in your business could realistically look like in your first 90 days of building it, that is so important. And I'm gonna just put this out there. Before anybody gets skeptical when you hear that number, I wanna say this up front. I'm not talking about overnight success. I'm not going to say that there is no such thing, because there's exceptions to every rule, but by and large, there is no such thing as overnight success. I'm not talking about making six figures in your first 30 days either. That ain't what I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about quitting your job next month, because that is not what this conversation is about. I want to talk about the realistic math, because I believe one of the biggest reasons women never start building a second stream of income is because entrepreneurship feels financially overwhelming. It feels massive. It feels like something that requires a huge audience. It requires huge visibility, years of experience, and perfect clarity before money can ever be made. Is that how you feel about entrepreneurship? If it is, give this video a thumbs up. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. And I also believe many women are dramatically underestimating how valuable their existing skills already are. And that is the conversation that I want us to have today. Welcome back to another episode of Nick at Noon. My name is Nick Scott. I'm the founder and CEO of Her Income Edit. We are an online education platform where we help professional women turn their existing skills into coaching, income, and digital products so they can build multiple streams of income beyond a single paycheck. So if you are excellent at what you do, if you are underpaid for what you know, And if you are starting to question whether your job is the only option, you are in the right place. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn the bell notification on so you don't miss a beat. Now, if you haven't already, I encourage you to go get your notebook and your pen, pop open a notes app on your phone or whatever it is that you take notes on. Share this episode with your biz bestie. And if you have any questions or comments as we're going through this conversation, drop it in the chat if you're watching live, or you can leave your feedback and questions in the comments if you're watching the replay, because we're about to get into it. So before I get too deep though, I have to mention, because this directly ties to this conversation we're about to have, and that is registration for Her Income Lab is what? It's officially open. Cue the confetti. We've been talking about this for a long time, and registration is finally open for the public. Her Income Lab is a live working session, and it is happening on May 30th. And this is where you're going to build your high ticket coaching offer in real time. Her Income Lab is not another webinar where you take notes and revisit the workbook 3 months later. We are building your offer in the room. You will specifically leave with your offer, your pricing, your positioning, your pitch, and you're going to leave with your second stream of income in motion. So there are only 30 seats available, and once those 30 seats are gone, they are gone. So if you've been sitting on your skills, sitting on your ideas, sitting on that thing people keep telling you that you should charge for, the link for Her Income Lab is below, or you can go to my website at herincomeedits.com/workshop. Okay? Now, let's get into this conversation, because I believe one of the biggest mistakes women make when they first start thinking about entrepreneurship is they immediately make the goal too big. And I understand why. I mean, I'm just going to be honest about that, because when people talk about online businesses, particularly when you're looking on social media, Instagram pops into my head immediately when I think about this. When people are talking about business, they're talking about it in extremes. So either people are talking about the 7-figure launches and the massive brands that they've built, or they're talking about struggling for years before they see any results at all. They're talking about it in extremes, right? If you find this to be true, give this video a thumbs up. But here's what I believe. I believe there is a middle conversation that is not being talked about that more women need to hear. Because what if the first goal is not replacing your salary? I mean, think about that for a minute. What if the first goal is proof? And I really, really, really want you to think about that for a second. What if your first goal in your business is simply proving to yourself that your skills can create income outside of your job? What if that were true? How would that change? What would change about the way you view entrepreneurship and starting your own business? Because I believe that question right there, it significantly changes the emotional weight of entrepreneurship. Significantly changes. Because now suddenly you're not talking about whether or not you can build $1 billion business. You're talking about whether you can generate your first $2,000 using the skills you already have, and that is a very different conversation, am I right? And honestly, I believe more women would start if they stopped treating entrepreneurship like an all or nothing leap and started treating it like a second income stream that they're building strategically along the side of their current life. Because Over here at Her Income Edit, we are not telling women to burn their lives down and start over from scratch. I teach my clients about leverage. I teach my clients about options. I teach my clients about ownership. I teach my clients about creating income that belongs to them. And I believe the first $2,000 matters so much psychologically because it shifts something in your identity. It shifts something in your identity. So, the first time that someone pays you for your skills outside of your job, it changes the way you see yourself. It changes the way you think about your skills. It changes the way that you think about money. It changes the way you think about what's possible for you and your legacy. Because at that point, your job is no longer the only place your income can come from. And that realization right there is powerful. It's powerful. Now, let's talk about some math. Y'all know that math is not my strong suit, but we got to talk about numbers every now and then around here, right? And every time I bring up a math conversation in these lives, I get a little bit nervous because I'm doing numbers in my head, and sometimes like I'm being very vulnerable right here. But I want to talk about some math because I believe this is where women start realizing that this may be far more realistic than they initially thought. So, here comes the math. If your goal is to make your first $2,000 in 90 days, there are multiple ways that could happen. So, that could look like one client paying you $2,000. That could be 2 clients paying you $1,000 or 4 clients paying you $500 per client, right? That could even look like 10 people who purchase a $200 workshop. It could look like a small coaching package. It could be a consulting offer. It could be a group program. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that there are multiple paths to the same financial outcome. And I believe too many women get stuck because they assume they need huge visibility before they can make any meaningful income. Let me ask you something. How would an additional $2,000 generated in the next 90 days, would that impact your life at all? Like, what would you do with an additional $2,000 in the next 90 days? Because the truth is, you don't need millions of followers to make your first $2,000. What you need is clarity around the problem you solve, positioning that makes people understand why your experience matters, and the willingness to put an offer in the world and in front of people. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Now, I want to talk honestly about why many women delay starting even when they know they need another income stream. Because I don't believe most women are struggling with a lack of potential. I believe they're struggling with the emotional transition from employee to entrepreneur. Because those are two extremely different identities. So, employees are taught to wait. They are trained to wait for direction. Entrepreneurs, on the other hand, we make decisions before certainty even exists. Like, we are moving, baby. Employees are rewarded for predictability. The more predictable you are, the more you're rewarded. Entrepreneurs are rewarded for initiative. Employees are taught to prove themselves before opportunity arrives. Entrepreneurs often have to create the opportunity first and then grow into it. And do you see how that's a completely different relationship with risk? Employees are trained to be risk aversive. Entrepreneurs take the risk. And I believe that women stay stuck because they're trying to build a business while still thinking entirely like employees. And I'm not saying that what we've been trained and what we've been taught as employees is completely not usable within our businesses. But we do have to unlearn a lot. So I believe that women, they're waiting for someone to validate their idea because that's what happens at work. They're waiting for someone to confirm their pricing. They're waiting for someone to tell them that they're qualified enough. And the fact is, women with less experience than you are building offers, selling offers. They are generating income alongside their full life, alongside their full-time job, because they decided to stop waiting for permission. And that is hard. I know this is hard to hear. I know sometimes it is hard to hear, but I believe it is so very, 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 very important. Because one thing that I have noticed about high achieving women specifically is that many of us are deeply uncomfortable being beginners in public. We are so uncomfortable being beginners in public. We're comfortable being excellent. We are comfortable being competent. We are comfortable being prepared. But entrepreneurship often requires visibility before perfection. Pause, because there's no such thing as perfection. Entrepreneurship requires visibility before mastery. And that feels vulnerable. I don't want to minimize it. I don't want to minimize it at all. I will say that it's like a muscle. The more that you work it, the stronger it becomes, the more natural it feels. And here's the thing. A lot of women don't even realize that what they're calling overthinking is often fear. It's often a fear of being seen before you feel fully polished, perfect, and ready to perform. But if you wait until everything feels perfect, you will delay yourself for years. I have seen it time and time again. You will spend years revising offers that nobody has ever even seen. You'll spend years consuming information instead of implementing that information. You will spend years sitting on the skills that could already be generating income. And honestly, I believe this is why your first offer matters so much. Flat out. Like, this is why getting that first offer built and in front of people matters so much. And it's not because your offer has to be perfect. It's because your offer changes the relationship that you have with yourself. I remember it like it was yesterday. The first time that I packaged my skills and I said, this is valuable, something shifted in me. And I believe the first time you package your skills and you say, this is valuable, something is going to shift. This happened for me. I know this to be true for myself. The first time that I said my price out loud, something shifted. The first time somebody said yes and they paid me, baby. I remember it like yesterday. I had a webinar. Back then, like, webinars were the thing that people were doing in this coaching space. And I had created this little $997 offer. And I held this webinar. I don't even think it was that many people in the room. But I held this webinar and I gave it my all, honey. And when I converted one person on that webinar, and they paid me the full price, $997, I made $1,000 in 1 hour. You couldn't tell me nothing. You couldn't tell me nothing. So I know this to be true. I know this to be true. And I was working a full-time job at that time. I walked in the next day like, I just made $1,000 an hour. You can't tell me nothing. But here's the thing. I truly, because I've experienced it for myself, because I've seen it in the clients that I've worked with, I truly believe that too many women underestimate how transformational that shift can be. Because suddenly, and it's like that, suddenly you stop seeing your knowledge as background information. Because now your skills, your knowledge, your expertise, it becomes an asset, an undeniable asset. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Okay, now let's talk about another thing I believe holds women back from making their first $2,000. Many women are trying to build businesses in secret, and I understand why. Listen, I did this too. Can I just get tangential for a second? Many of the things that I talk about here in my videos on my YouTube channel and in these episodes of Nick at Noon and in my posts on social media, I am speaking from personal experience. When I started years ago, my blog, my online career started as a blog. At the time, I was an accountant, and I started that blog because I needed a creative outlet. And I told nobody about that blog. I told nobody about that blog. I mean, eventually people found out because it was the internet, and that blog turned into this YouTube channel that you're watching me on right now. But yeah, I didn't tell anybody. Eventually people found out, but it was because it's the internet, and people would come up to me like, "Do you have a YouTube channel?" I'd be like, "Yes." I did it again most recently with my last job that I was laid off from. I started building Her Income Edit when I decided to get back into the online space. Something in me was just telling me you need to move towards this. And I started building it secretly. But the crazy thing about it is 6 months later, and I tell the whole story on my YouTube channel, and I've even told the story on Nick at Noon. You can go back and watch the replay of the episode. I think it's literally called I Got Laid Off. But literally, 7 months later, I was laid off, and I was building in secret. Imagine if I'd have been building visibly in public. So I understand why many women are trying to build their businesses in secret, because visibility, it feels vulnerable. And especially when your coworkers follow you or your family doesn't fully understand what you're building. And especially when you're used to being seen in one specific context. But I really, 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 really want you to understand this. People cannot buy offers that they don't know exist. And I believe some women are waiting for confidence before they allow themselves to become visible. But here's what I know about confidence. It's usually built through action. Confidence grows through the conversations. It grows through execution. It grows through repetition. And here's what else I believe. I believe many women are just one decision away from momentum. Not 10 years away, not another degree away, not another certification away. Many women are exactly one decision away from momentum. And that decision is this: the decision to stop treating your skills like something that only belongs inside of your 9 to 5. Now I want to pause here and give you a few realistic examples, because I believe that examples, they'll help you see yourself in what's possible here. So let's say you're a project manager. At work, you organize timelines, you manage communication, you improve workflows, and you help teams execute more efficiently, right? You may not even realize that those skills could become income. They could become productivity coaching. They could become operational consulting. They could become system strategy, career coaching for new managers, organization workshops, team communication support. The list goes on, but that right there is expertise. Maybe you work in HR. Maybe you've spent years reviewing resumes, coaching employees, navigating workplace dynamics, helping people position themselves professionally, and guiding difficult conversations. All of that could become interview coaching, resume strategy, career transition coaching, leadership consulting, workplace communication support. Or maybe you're the person that everybody comes to because you always know how to organize things, and or you know how to simplify things, or you know how to explain things, or you know how to help people move forward. And that right there is usually the clue. If you're the person that everybody comes to because you always know ... that is usually the clue. And I believe one of the biggest mindset shifts that you can make is understanding that your skills don't become valuable only when a company pays you a salary for them. Your skills are already valuable. Your employer is simply one buyer. And in fact, I think that your employer should be the first investor in your business. Oh, wee, yes. I feel like this one's important though. This was important. And if you're taking notes, I want you to write it down and I want you to personalize it. I want you to write in your notebook or whatever it is that you're taking notes on, write this down. My employer is only one buyer, not the only buyer. My employer should be the first investor in my business. And here's the thing that I don't want you to miss about all this. Once you start understanding that your employer is only one buyer, you'll start looking at your skills entirely differently. Because now your knowledge isn't just something that helps your company grow. Your knowledge is something that can help you build ownership too. And that pause was intentional. So I believe this is especially important right now because so many women are waking up to the reality that one paycheck is a vulnerable position to be in, no matter how good the salary looks on paper. Listen, I was making a good 6 figures, y'all. Good 6 figures. My salary looked great on paper. My benefits looked great. And one paycheck left me completely vulnerable because I was building in secret, like I mentioned earlier, because I didn't bet on myself and I was waiting for somebody to give me the permission to do the thing that I'd already been doing in the first place. The thing about it is high income and financial security are not automatically the same thing. And that is one of the biggest conversations that we have here at Her Income Edit. Because you can make great money and still be financially exposed if all of your income depends on one source continuing to be uninterrupted. That right there, that is why I'm so passionate about multiple streams of income. That is why multiple streams of income matter. It isn't because I'm being greedy or because I'm encouraging you to be greedy or because everybody needs 10 side hustles. And it's certainly not because I believe you should do this because entrepreneurship is trendy. Multiple streams of income matter because multiple streams of income creates options. And options change the way that women move through the world. This is big. This is bigger than that superficial stuff. A woman with options, she negotiates differently. She leaves toxic environments faster, whether that is an environment at work or an environment in her personal life. A woman with options recovers from disruption differently. A woman with options thinks differently about her future because she understands her income is not entirely dependent on one organization continuing to choose her. And honestly, I believe many women are craving that feeling more than they're craving entrepreneurship itself. If that is you, give this video a thumbs up. I'm giving it a thumbs up because that is me. I am craving that feeling more than I'm craving entrepreneurship. We are craving breathing room. We're craving leverage. We're craving ownership. Women are craving the ability to make decisions from alignment instead of fear. And I believe the first $2,000 matters because it introduces you to that possibility in a tangible way. Because now suddenly this is not theory anymore. Suddenly you're no longer just consuming content about a business. You've made money in your own business. You've proven your skills can generate income outside of your job. And that literally, it changes your whole self-concept. Now, here's the other thing I believe you need to hear. Your first $2,000 probably won't come from perfection. It'll probably come from proximity. And here's what I mean by that. The people who are most likely to buy from you first are often people that are already connected to you in some way. So your first client is usually someone who already knows your skills, someone who has already seen your work ethic, or someone who already trusts your perspective. And remember the story that I told you a few minutes ago about my first $1,000 in 1 hour? It came from somebody that I know. So again, I'm speaking from my own personal experience, and I can also talk about the many clients that this is also true for too. And here's the thing, I believe that many women overlook that their first client isn't going to come from perfection. Their first $2,000 isn't going to come from perfection. It's going to come from proximity. They overlook that because they assume they need a massive social media audience before they can make any money online. Remember earlier in this conversation, I talked about the two extremes that so many people in this coaching industry talk about, right? And if you missed it, if you're just joining live, I encourage you to go watch the replay on my YouTube channel. But the truth here is this. Your first clients are much closer than you think. Sometimes they're your coworkers, sometimes they're referrals, sometimes they're people who have quietly watched you help others for years. And this is why visibility matters, not performative visibility or becoming an influencer. I mean strategic visibility. I mean the willingness to publicly say, this is what I help people do. That one sentence changes everything because women can't hire you for skills that you keep hidden, for skills that you keep a secret. Now, let's talk briefly about pricing because I believe pricing creates emotional tension for a lot of women, especially women who are used to having salaries assigned to them instead of directly pricing their own skills. And one thing I want you to understand is this. Pricing is not just about the time you spend in a coaching session. Pricing is about transformation. Pricing is about outcomes. Pricing is about proximity to expertise. Because if you can save a client months, years, if you can save them stress, confusion, or costly mistakes by working with you, that has value. And I believe women dramatically underprice themselves because they're pricing based on familiarity with their own knowledge instead of the value of the transformation. And those are two very different things. Now, does that mean your first offer needs to cost $10,000 immediately? Not necessarily. But I do think that women need to stop assuming that expertise becomes more legitimate only when it's underpriced. Because that mindset, it keeps women stuck and burned out and hustling for years. And honestly, I believe that women need to stop spending less time obsessing over whether people will pay, and they need to spend more time getting clear on the problem they solve. Because people pay for clarity, they pay for solutions, and they pay for results, and that has always been true. Now, before we wrap up, I want to bring this conversation back to the bigger picture because, yes, today we talked about your first $2,000. But this conversation is really about something bigger than money, and I hope that I was able to impress that upon you today. This conversation is about your identity. It is about ownership. It is about understanding that your job was never meant to be your only plan. And I believe more women need to see entrepreneurship differently. This is a conversation that we just don't have enough. You don't need to see entrepreneurship as this giant, dramatic leap into uncertainty, but I want you to start to see it as the strategic decision to stop relying entirely on one stream of income for your future and for your legacy. Because those are two completely different conversations, right? Many women already have everything that they need to start. You might not have everything you need to scale. You might not have everything you need to master entrepreneurship overnight. But many of you watching this episode right now, you have more than enough to start. You have enough to build momentum. You have enough to create proof. You already have enough to generate your first $2,000 in your business. And honestly, I believe the women who move the fastest are rarely the women who started the most prepared. Those women are usually the women who stopped waiting for certainty and started building with what they already have. And before I go, I really need to say this because I know there are, maybe it's you, but I know that there's women that are watching this right now and you have been sitting on an idea for months, maybe even years. You know what people come to you for. You know the thing that you're good at. You know the conversations you keep having over and over and over and over again, but every time you think about turning it into an offer, you overthink it and you get stuck. You tell yourself that you need more time. You tell yourself that you need more clarity. You tell yourself that you'll come back to it later. And then what happens? Another month passes. Another quarter passes. Another performance review passes. And your skills are still only generating income for your 9 to 5 instead of generating additional income for you. Does that sound like you? Does this feel familiar? If it does, you are exactly who I created Her Income Lab for. Because I realized that women don't need another webinar full of ideas. You need a room where the decisions finally get made. And Her Income Lab is a live working session. It is happening on May 30th. We are going to be building your coaching offer together in real time. This is not a learn now and figure it out later type of situation. I'm talking about getting clear on your offer, your pricing, your positioning, your pitch, your transformation, and your next stream of income. And if today's conversation helped you realize that your first $2,000 may be more realistic than you thought, then I really want you to stop treating this like some distant someday goal, because your skills are already the vehicle. You don't need another idea. You need ownership. You need leverage. You need another stream of income that's not entirely dependent on one employer continuing to choose you. Registration for Her Income Lab is officially open. There are only 30 seats available in this room. And once they are gone, they are gone. They're gone. This is not fake urgency. So if you're ready to stop overthinking and you're finally ready to build the thing, the link for Her Income Lab is in the description below. or you can go to my website at herincomeedit.com/workshop. So if this conversation resonated with you at all, if you've been sitting on your skills, sitting on your expertise, or sitting on something that people have been telling you to monetize for years, I really want you to stop treating that as background information, because your skills are valuable, your experience matters, and your expertise has real market value. And your first $2,000, it may be far more, no, not maybe, it is far more realistic than you think. All right? Thanks so much for joining, y'all. Listen, if this conversation helped you, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel and turn your notifications on so you don't miss a beat, and share this video with another woman who needs to hear what I just had to say. And before I go, I want you to answer this question in the comments. What is one skill you already have that somebody would probably pay for today? I want to thank each and every one of you who popped in and out of this live today. I appreciate you. I am here Monday through Friday at noon Mountain Time with something new and fresh to talk about as it relates to the coaching industry. Registration for Her Income Lab is open. Link is in the description, or go to my website at herincomeedit.com/workshop. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.